Welcome to Inner Peace, Better Health. I'm your host, Eric, and today we are exploring how to break free from societal conditioning and live life on your own terms. Our guest, Arnold Beekes, has dedicated his life to helping people dismantle the mental and emotional straitjackets that keep them stuck. Growing up in a world of extreme conformity, Arnold knows firsthand what it means to live someone else's life. Now, through his concept of brain fitness, he empowers people to escape this conditioning, unlocking health, performance, and freedom. If you have ever felt stuck or like you are living for others, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. First of all, Arnold, you are so welcome to our show on behalf of our listeners and our team. I welcome you here.
Thank you very much, Arick. I love to be here.
Yeah, Arnold, you have talked about growing up in a strict conformity. When did you realize you were not living your own life?
That was somewhere in my 40s. It took quite a long time because most of us, not only me, but most of us are living someone else's life. And
Yeah.
because everybody else is doing the same, you're not realizing it. You're not realizing that well, you're doing something weird or exceptional because everybody else is living someone else's life.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what gave you the courage to break free from it?
And partly it was circumstantial, partly it was my own courage. Circumstantial was that I lost my job, and so that was not my intention. So that is circumstantial. But the courage part, which you rightly mentioned, is that I I could have, well, with a lot of difficulty, could get back to the corporate world and try to find a job again. But I was like, no, I've had enough of that. I want to try having my own business, be an entrepreneur, running my own show, and that is totally new.
Hmm. Yeah, wow. That is amazing. Arnold, what is brain fitness and why is it so essential in today's world?
Well, Arick, you and your listeners, they all know what body fitness is,
Yeah.
and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to a gym or things like that. But it's like we understand that it's good for our bodily health that we exercise, that we move, yeah, but that you can play tennis, you can go swimming, you can walk your dog, you can go biking. Yeah? As long as you move, yeah, it is good for your body and healthy. And
Yeah.
the same is true for your brain. But we do nothing with our brain. We both actually, your body and your brain start to deteriorate after the age of 30 years. So first it degrades slowly, but the moment you get towards your 60s, 70s, 80s, it starts to deteriorate much, much faster. And both your body and your brain, well, are really not in a good position if you have not put in the effort to keep them fit. Mm? That is why people understand is like, hey, I need to do my fitness regularly, preferably something each day, but with nothing for our brain. Yeah, so our brain slowly but surely deteriorates and results that a lot of people at an older age, they at first start with memory problems, but it can result into dementia and Parkinson, which a lot of that can be prevented if you regularly work on your brain fitness. And that is what I'm introducing. And what I would like to see in the world is that brain fitness becomes just as logical thing to do as body fitness.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's amazing. I really love your perspective on that because sometimes we often get so lost with our physical fitness that we forget to uh, train our brain. We forget to take care of our brain, and we forget to be fit just mentally or when it comes to brain, just like you mentioned. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that, Arnold. And you say we are being robotized. How can unconditioning help us reclaim our humanity then?
Well, basically, most people, and I've spoken to a lot of people from India, but it's all over the world that from the moment we are born, we are conditioned to do what other people want us to do. So,
Yeah.
from the moment you're born, as a child, as a baby, you're supposed to do what your parents tell you to do. Yeah, you're not crying. You're eating your food. You're tidying up your toys. Yeah. Then you go to school. When are you a good student? When you do what your teacher tells you to do. Then you go to high school or you go to university. Same story. When are you a good student? When you do what your teacher or your professor tells you to do. Then you start working. Yeah. So when you're 20, 25, when are you a good employee? When you do exactly what your boss tells you to do. So that robotization, as you said, that is something which gets conditioned into us in the first 20, 25 years of our lives, but we don't even realize it. Hmm? We are not realizing that we're actually living someone else's life. We're living the life that
Yeah,
others expect from us.
definitely.
We are living the life of our parents. We're living the life of our teachers. We're living the life of our bosses. We're living the life when you're married, you live the life of your spouse. So you're constantly living someone else's life, but not your own life, but you don't realize it.
That's right. That's so true. That's so true. Wow, that's amazing. So, what's one simple step that our listeners can take to start that unconditioning, to start actually living their own lives? And because first step, as they say, the first step is to realize it. First step is to realize where we are going wrong. But okay, now we have realized it. But what will be the following step? What should be the step that we have to take or we should take to start this unconditioning of our brain and to actually start living like yourself?
Well, I would like to share 3 points with which are the starting point is what you ask for. The first one is is to realize that what has happened, that it is not your fault.
Yeah. Okay.
You did nothing wrong. Because that is what we automatically think is like, oh, I'm stupid. I lived someone else's life. I did this. I didn't do these things. Well, that is what 99% of the people were doing, and you were doing it too. That doesn't mean you're stupid or it's your mistake or you're a failure. No, you were just doing, and especially when you were a younger child, you were just doing what you thought was right, and what was right was doing what other people want you to do. So it's very important to realize that you did nothing wrong. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
That is a very important starting point because normally our starting point is like, oh, I did something wrong. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
It's the way our society is organized.
Yeah.
The second point is be a beginner. And
Mm.
from the moment you start living your own life, and that is a whole discovery, that's a whole exploration of figuring out who you really are and what you really want to do in life. But you have to be a beginner and realize that a lot of the things what you're told are not true, they're not working, and that you have to say, like, oh, okay, I don't know, I have to figure out. When I was in the beginning of my 40s and my first coach, and I had lost my job, like I said, and he was asking me, he said, Arnold, what do you want for a job? And what I started ranting about was like, I don't want this. I don't want this anymore. I don't want a boss. I want to be the general manager. I don't want this. I don't want this. And then he was asking, Arnold, I understand what you don't want, but can you explain to me what you do want?
Yeah, that's so true.
And that is such a difficult question because I didn't know. And I've done this exercise with many of my clients. Nobody knows because nobody's been asked, because everybody's telling you what to do. So you don't need to think about who am I? What do I like to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to contribute? Because nobody ever asked us that question.
Yeah. Wow, that's that's so true. That's so true. And thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for but because sometimes I believe when someone asks us this question, what do you want? I believe we don't know the answer. So I think, yes, you are so right that we need to realize what we actually want because we know what we don't want, but we do not know what we want. So, yes, Anil, thank you for sharing your insights to with our listeners, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. It's such a pleasure to have you here, and that's amazing. And I'm sure that our listeners are inspired by what you have told them, and inspired that it's time to stop living others' lives, but to actually start living your own. So, thank you so much, Arnold, for reminding us and giving us that reminder today. Thank you so much for that.
Well, happy to share, and hope it. Well, I'm sure if your audience starts working on this, it will make their life a lot more interesting, a lot more fulfilling, a lot more health and well-being.
Yes, thank you so much, Arnold. And to all our listeners, it's time to stop fitting in and start flying out. Take one small step today to uncondition your mind and embrace your uniqueness. If this inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we can create a world where everyone lives authentically. Until next time, I am Eric, reminding you to find your inner peace and unlock better health. Take care.